everybody. Welcome to Capital Combat. The name says it all. I'm Hakeem Branch.
Rob Jarrell.
And today we're going to recap this past Saturday's middleweight title fight, which involved Saul Canelo Alvarez challenging Miguel Cotto for the lineal middleweight title. Also on that card, we had Guillermo Rigondeaux making his return to the ring after almost a year. We kind of did a quick blurb about that, and we're just going to do a quick blurb to recap that. We said that he had to impress in order to get his name out there and get the bad taste out of the fans' mouths for his previous work. What did we get, Rob?
He won. He was boring. Same old stuff.
Yeah, he blew it. He had a guy in there that did not belong in the ring with him, but he did not pull the trigger on getting him out of there. He landed at will when he decided to throw. He made the guy miss easily. There were plenty of openings for him to capitalize on, and he just did not do it.
Stuff like this does not raise your profile, especially when guys like Rock Nation, who is trying to build themselves and putting money behind you, you got to go out there and not only deliver a grade A butt whooping, but you have to at least make it halfway entertaining.
Exactly. And he did not. And as big fans of Rigondeaux, that's really disappointing to us because we know the skills there. He's just not laying all the tools out of his toolbox. And hopefully he does next time. So let's move on to the main event, in which we had Miguel Cotto, the current lineal middleweight champ, fighting Saul Canelo Alvarez, who has been fighting at 155 since he last fought Mayweather under the 154-pound limit. So they're technically middleweights because they're above 154. They're not fighting at the full limit of middleweight, but semantics. Let's get into the fight. Take it away, Rob.
All right, so we picked Miguel Cotto to win this just because of what we saw in his previous fights. He looked rejuvenated with Freddie Roach. He was ready to go. It was at a weight he was comfortable at. And what do we get? We got a guy who looked old, or he only looked old in comparison to who he was fighting. Canelo's still about 25, has plenty of experience, about 40-something fights.
I think he has more fights than Cotto.
Yeah, he's a guy that he fought out of Mexico, fight almost every month. Get that work in. And it pays dividends. The guy was in great shape, let those hands go, and those shots that he landed on Cotto were very telling. They were very thudding shots. And I'm going to be honest right now, we're watching the fight again on television, and it just showed Cotto's wife. So I'm going to try to pay attention. So what do we get? We got a guy, Cotto, who we knew wasn't going to have that. We thought he was going to have that power, at least to the body, and you could tell the power difference. You could tell the difference in freshness. Canelo was willing to let his hands go more often, and he landed some beautiful techniques. We saw improved defense and head movement versus Cotto. We saw him do that pull counter right uppercut, and
the right cross.
And the right cross. He just pulled back a little. Boom, right over the top to the back of Cotto's left ear. So those moves were the definition of gorgeous.
Yes, he also landed a beautiful uppercut because Miguel Cotto has always been susceptible to them. What we thought was going to happen was that Cotto would come out, use his footwork, and land several combinations and be able to get out in time before he started to slow down later on in the fight and hang on to win. But instead, Canelo came in and established himself as the boss immediately. Cotto tried to do that exact game plan. He was moving, he was jabbing, he tried to throw combinations, but that improved defense that Rob was talking about, he left him swinging at air a lot of times. And when he did land, there wasn't no significant effect at all to Canelo when he did land. On the other hand, every time Canelo landed a punch, you heard it. Cotto reacted, the crowd reacted, and it was a very, very telling sign of how the fight was going. Now, reading online and hearing a lot of the reactions to the fight, there's been a lot of backlash talking about the scores and people saying that, the fight was a lot closer.
Like 119, what was it, 119?
Yeah, 119, 109, 118, 110, and 117, 111.
The 117, 111 is very respectable. That's kind of around the score that I had. Maybe 116 and 112 at the closest.
Yeah, personally, I did have it wide. I scored it the same as the 118. I gave Cotto 2 rounds, and the reason why I did that was what I just said. When Canelo landed his punches, he landed his punches, and when Cotto landed his, even though sometimes he seemed to be busier, a lot of them were missing. And when they did land, they didn't have the same effect that when Canelo landed. And with a subjective criteria in judging, it's all subjective, 100%. It really depended on what you liked. And so I guess what we're getting is a lot of people did favor what Cotto did a lot in the ring.
Surprisingly, we saw that Juan Marquez,
yes,
he said it was at least a draw for Cotto. Barrera said gave the fight to Cotto. I didn't really understand I was expecting at least decent scores from the Mexican broadcast team for Canelo, but that was really surprising. And some people had about 8-4, 7-5. Depends on what you're looking at. Again, Canelo did let his hands go. He did have those harder shots, but Cotto actually had a more I think he threw more punches. He didn't outland them, but tossing out that jab, going to the body consistently, because he tried to go to the body consistently with the right and the left, but it just didn't seem to affect Canelo at all.
Yeah, and on the other hand, Canelo did. You could see Canelo land shots and Cotto would pause or he'd immediately retreat. You could hear the thuds when he landed. And if those things aren't appealing to you, then they aren't appealing to you.
This will just harken back to the Canelo-Lara fight, where Lara outthrew, possibly even outlanded. I think he did outland Canelo, but
it was just like 3 or 4 punches. It wasn't a lot.
Yeah, but it was those power punches, those thudding shots, and the fact that he made Lara and, in essence, made Cotto capitulate a little bit and try to keep distance, which is understandable because he's a heavy-handed guy who can throw great combinations.
Yes.
Very precise combinations.
Now, later on in the fight, the Cotto that I thought was going to show up in the earlier rounds finally did show up. I mean, he started cutting some great angles and started firing off those angles, landed some great combinations, and really began to touch up Canelo. He also landed, I think it was in either the 9th or the 10th round, landed a really good right hand. And I was like, yes, there's the Cotto that we were looking for early on in the fight. Unfortunately, for my preference, it was too little too late. Canelo also showed improved footwork as well. It still wasn't as good as Miguel Cotto's, but it was much improved from when he was getting outboxed by Mayweather and also Erislandy Lara. It
put him in position to throw the punches that he needed, and it did good enough to take himself out of the wheelhouse of Cotto and answer back with those counters that we were just talking about. Yes. So it's full credit goes out to Canelo and his team. I just think they outfought and outcoached Cotto and Freddie Roach.
Yes. A lot of people don't like Canelo for their own personal reasons, but we are going to give him his props. That was a good win. And next up should be, if he's staying at middleweight, Gennady Golovkin. They mentioned it during the post-fight interview, but there's a lot of room between the cup and the lip, as they say. They still have to go in negotiations and all that good stuff. And right now, Canelo is going to be the A side. I know a lot of people don't like that. So he's going to be able to dictate the terms of that fight, especially because Golovkin's pay-per-view bombed, and they're getting very good reports from this pay-per-view that just passed.
Right.
So he's going to be able to command the weight, the purse, what side of the ring he comes on. Everything about the negotiations is going to have to go Canelo's way in order for that fight to happen, because he has options. Golovkin, if he wants that name and that big-time exposure, will have to give those options away, or continue to fight people that they call nobodies, which they aren't nobodies. Those are the people that are available to fight him.
Now, let's keep in mind there are 2 more middleweight fights coming up. Now, one, we don't see either one of them fighting Golovkin or Canelo, which is the winner of the Peter Quillin Danny Jacobs middleweight fight,
right,
which is coming up soon on December 5th.
Yeah. Yes.
Should be a good fight, yeah, and a great card, even the Showtime Extreme card.
Yeah.
And then we also have, and this is of a much lesser note, but one of their known names, Andy Lee versus Billy Joe Saunders.
That's still for a belt, which one of those guys can take or try to take if they choose to.
So it is options. That isn't under the PBC Golden Boy top rank for Billy Joe Saunders versus Andy Lee.
Yeah, so
banner.
They have a little bit more flexibility with making a fight, especially with Golovkin, than say Quillin and Jacobs, because they're not going to fight any of those guys anyway. Quillin did fight Andy Lee, so they might have a rematch if they both win.
Or if Quillin wins and he decides to move up to super middleweight, because apparently the report is that he has been having trouble making the 160-pound weight limit for like the last few fights. And he is a big middleweight.
Yeah, so we'll see. There are lots of fights to be made for all those guys that we mentioned. So we just have to wait and see what happens and let things shake out. Anything you want to add in closing?
No, that was it, man.
All right, good. I don't have anything else either. Thanks for watching, guys. Make sure you like this video. Leave your thoughts on the fight below. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't. You can hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, Google+, CapitalofCombat, CapitalofCombat@gmail.com if you want to hit us up in the email. That's it. See you in the next episode. Peace.
This is round 1 and you've already lost. They don't seem to see that everything we've done is come at a cost. My fists are on fire, I perform till I perspire. My demons are in a rage, keep thinking that it's a game. I kick rhyme, hurricane, I told them I don't play, I'm liquid.
Black Street Fighter.